this video I have an exciting new tool to share with you and also a favor to ask. My name is Josh Gu, and I'm taking my years of experience learning, teaching, and performing and sharing all of my best clarinet and music tips so you can get more out of your practice and, most importantly, have fun. You can learn more about all of my many resources at QuickStartClarinet.com, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell to get notified when I post new videos. So this new tool is a really interesting AI tuner that is called Tuning Charts, is the name of the website. And actually, before I tell you too much about it, I want to ask you for the favor up front so you know what it is. I want you to go to Tuning Charts and I want you to use the tool and get some data in it. The reason why is because the Tuning Charts project is this AI tuner that sort of measures your intonation and keeps track of it and shows you a really cool chart of all of the notes that you play and your tendencies on the instrument, which is an awesome tool in and of itself. But the other really cool thing about it is the creator of it is putting together a sort of database of tuning charts for different equipment. So I'll show you how to use the tool in a second, but what it does is it tracks your mouthpiece, clarinet, reeds, that kind of equipment stuff, and then saves the tuning chart with it so that it matches the tuning with the equipment. So eventually, once there's enough entries, there will be able to be this database where you can see the tendencies of the different equipment. And of course, it depends a ton on the player, but it's a great way to start getting an idea of where you're going. And also using the tuning charts in general is a great way when you're testing equipment to sort of see the variations in pitch and also timbre of the equipment that you're testing. So it's a really fun, really cool tool that I think is going to be really powerful. So I'll show you how to use it and explain sort of what I like about it and the things to do with it. But make sure that you go to Tuning Charts and do some yourself. Do it with different equipment that you have so that you can see how your equipment compares to each other, and so we can help provide some data to fill out this database and have a really cool resource for clarinetists. So let me jump over to my computer and show you what the Tuning Charts software looks like and how it works, and explain all of the fun stuff that you can do with it. All right, so here we are at tuningcharts.com, and you can just use this in your browser on any computer, which is really neat and cool. So let me show you how it works. You'll get in there and you'll make an account at first, and then you'll have your account with the recordings connected to them. But the main thing that you're going to do is go over on the left here to AI Tuner. You can also, of course, read about it and get some information there, and there's a good how-to and everything, but I'll show you how to do it. You go to AI Tuner, and then you'll press this record button, assuming your computer has a microphone that it can record, but it should. You'll hit record, and then play chromatic scale, and then it'll pull up some stuff, which I'll show in a second. With the chromatic scale and what to play, I have experimented with playing some other stuff, but I think the AI does best with the chromatic scale, and the chromatic scale is really useful because you get sort of the range of the instrument and an idea of how things are going. So I'm just going to do a 3-octave chromatic scale for this one, so I get through some of all of the range of the instrument and get an idea of where I'm landing. And you press stop, and your recording's good to go. If you make a mistake, that's totally fine. You can just hit record again, and it'll show multiple of the recordings. But then you're going to click this start processing once you have a recording that you're happy with. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't want to be looking at a tuner as you're doing this, because that's not the point. The idea is to see where the tendencies land. And I am not super warmed up right now. I was doing the recording and everything, so we'll see where I land. It could be all over the place. You'll also see it does take a second to process the recording, so you just have to be a little patient with it. But once it does, it will pop up with this. You can select your instrument. It's good for all woodwinds right now. B flat, clarinet, tuning 440. I'll put in the name of what I was doing. So I was doing, let's call this a 3-octave chromatic. And then you put your instrument in. And this is the important part for collecting data. So that was on my buffet tradition. My barrel was the Brad Bain Evo, and it's the stainless steel version. You'll find that like the buffet tradition popped up and autofilled, so that means that that's in the database already. My barrel is not, which is okay. Same thing with my mouthpiece. If yours isn't in the database, that's totally okay. Just put in as descriptive as you can. So you saw with my Brad Bain's the maker, Evo's the model, and it's the stainless steel one specifically. The mouthpiece is less details, but then the reed as well. And then you'll click on Get My Chart. That also might take a little second for it to load, but then it'll pop up with your chart, which is really cool. And yeah, I was super out of tune, but that's okay. That's what this is for, is to see where those tendencies are and see how things are going. So I made a few other ones. I've been playing with this a little bit now, and I'll show you how this part of it works as well. So we have, this one was the 3-octave chromatic scale I just did. You can see in the chart where the pitch tendencies were, and this looks like a huge deviation, but it was 17, 18 cents sharp, 5 cents flat was my biggest deviation, which is not great, but it's not terrible for sure, especially for just going through it. I also will say that I've tested this with like tonal energy and to see how accurate it is, and I think it is pretty accurate. My D5, the concert C, is always horrendously sharp on my instrument, so I think that makes good sense and is accurate to where it is. We have a little bit of a flat low F, things that you would expect from the tendencies of the clarinet. My high notes were pretty nice. So then what you can do down here, you can turn on some of the other ones. So I have a full range chromatic scale, same setup, same reed, same mouthpiece, same barrel, same clarinet, and I can compare to how those were. This one was full range up to G, so it was a little different. And you can see it pops up the color coding where we have the blue one was the one that I just recorded. The red one was a one that I did earlier. That one I was more warmed up and dialed in, so it's a little less deviation. You can see your average deviation here. So the one that I just did was 7 cents average deviation. The other one was 5 cents. So again, not actually too bad. This one I was a little higher in the upper clarion, which was interesting. Also the altissimo was a little bit sharper as well. So you can compare against yourself and see any deviation, but you can also see that it kind of follows. There's a bit of a flat dip here. This is an interesting, my C sharp is apparently flat compared to the C and the D around it. I think that makes sense with what I know about my instrument. The lower clarion is quite sharp. Again, very expected natural tendencies. So that's kind of a cool thing that you can do. You can also compare different equipment, which is kind of, I think, the whole idea behind this. So that was on my Ramon Wachowski mouthpiece. Here's on my M13, same clarinet, same barrel, but different mouthpiece. And you can see some differences there. So again, it shows which is which, and I could probably name them better to make it make more sense or easier to follow. But the blue one was my normal setup, the M13's the M13 setup. So you can definitely see that the M13 is flatter overall. It's still following the same trends, so same clarinet, same barrel, it makes sense, but overall is flatter, and especially here on the F, it really dipped down compared to my normal setup. Here in the lower clarion was maybe even a little bit more sharp. You can see the exact sense. So it's really a nifty tool. It's really impressive how perfect that was. I should probably work on whatever's going on with my C sharp and the E flat a little bit. It's interesting, those side keys maybe need to vent more. So this is just stuff that I'm seeing as I'm looking at this in real time, which is kind of a cool benefit of having this kind of analysis. So that's the main thing. You can also compare the different instruments. So if I'll throw an A clarinet one up there, I'll do my normal setups actually. And this one, notice it's unnamed. You can go over to here to rename it. So I'll do A clarinet chromatic. You can name it anything that you want to make it make sense. So I'll do the A clarinet chromatic and the full range B flat. So this is my normal setups, and I can see the tendencies between my B flat clarinet in red and my A clarinet in blue. It's interesting how sharp the A is on the A clarinet and things like that. So there's all kinds of fun stuff to compare, and you can sort of see the things that are going on through there. Another fun thing that you can look at also is the timbre. So if you switch to timbre over here, it shows this spectral centroid, which is basically an average of the sort of energy of the different partials that are happening, because that's what timbre is the different partials of the harmonic series resonating. So this is sort of showing an average of them. I think it's a little tricky. Like, I don't know for sure what ideal is, but it is really interesting for comparisons. So there's not like it should be a flat line or higher is better or lower is better necessarily, but seeing how the different equipment compares to each other can be valuable. So this is my B flat clarinet and my A clarinet on the normal setup. So you can see the B flat clarinet's in red, A clarinet's in blue here. My B flat clarinet has a little bit more energy in the partials through this low range, which makes sense because I think the B flat clarinet kind of has a expectation for it to be a little bit brighter than the A clarinet, perhaps. So I think that's making sense that there's a little bit more energy. Really interesting what happens in the throat tones here, where the A clarinet is suddenly brighter. And again, it's not exactly that the higher it goes, the brighter it is, but you can loosely think of it that way. So the A clarinet is brighter in the throat tones than the B flat was on these particular recordings. So that's interesting. You can also compare. Oh, and you can actually see that it pretty much matches pretty well up into the upper registers. I'm going to switch my B flat clarinet off and switch to the Meinig barrel on my A clarinet. So this is both A clarinets. The blue is with the Brad Bain Evo barrel. The red is with the Meinig barrel. Again, pretty similar. There's this little bit of interesting thing happening on the A. That might have just been a weird recording thing. But yeah, it's quite close. Let's look at one more for the timbre. This is the M13 versus the Roman Witkowski on my B flat clarinet. Again, very similar stuff. I think it looks like there's a little bit more consistency to the Roman Witkowski compared to the M13. Yeah, but similar. So you can see those different kinds of timbre things. I'll also go through some of the other aspects of the site as well. So right now we're in the My Charts. The AI tuner is where you actually do the recording. There's a simple tuner that's just a simple tuner like any other tuner. There's a blog that has some good educational materials and some interesting stuff that's sort of being built out. This is Peter, is the creator of this, he's a great guy that I met a little bit. Then there's the pricing. The way that this works is that it's free for 3 of them. And then the more you do, you pay for them. And I think that's just to offset the costs of doing the AI processing, storing the data, and all of that stuff that it takes to have something like this and have a product like this. But you can do those 3 for free. That's where it's really important when you're doing the recording. If you accidentally record your voice or something that you don't want, just don't process it. Do a different recording of actually playing, and then you can pick which one to process so that you have something that's pretty good and pretty representative of the playing. So then you can add that data into the system and see the results for yourself over in the My Charts. So that's tuning charts, I'll jump over to the regular video and sort of wrap things up. Isn't that so cool? It's really nifty to be able to see those kinds of nuances and tendencies, and I'm really excited for when we'll be able to see more data on where different equipment lands. So be sure to go to tuning charts. There'll be a link in the description to do that. Go play some, do some recordings of your own scales, do it with different equipment so that we can start building out that data, and so you can learn your tuning tendencies and have some things to be working on there and sort of find your most ideal equipment for finding the right intonation for you, and the timbre stuff, which is also super cool. I will also say that there's always new features building together. I met with the creator of it, Peter, and he's really passionate about it and has a lot of cool stuff planned in the future. So go check it out, play around with it, get some good recordings in there so we can have some good clarinet data. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you in another one. And last but not least, a huge heartfelt thank you to the Dennersons. This is like the QuickStart Clarinet family who supports the channel and helps to make everything that I do possible. If you would like to support the channel and get some awesome rewards in return where we can work one-on-one over video and you can have my full support moving forward on your clarinet journey, then go to quickstartclarinet.com/supporter.